All right, welcome to the Bacon, Bibles, and Barbells podcast. I'm Coach Justin, joined by Coach Amanda and Coach Emily. Bill is still sadly missing, and we were just informed actually during a coaching consult today that someone asked, who is Bill? because he listened to the podcast and I talked about Bill being gone. Bill will be around at some point. His life is just really busy right now. He's got a lot going on. He's still coaching, taking new clients and things like that, but he has not been able to make time for the podcast. And his knowledge is sadly missed. Not so much his personality, but we'll get to that. I'm just kidding.
I miss you, Bill.
So yeah, we will have him on as soon as his life opens up and that kind of thing. But he's buried. So he is mostly working for the people that are already working with him, shall we say. So today we're going to talk about functional training and longevity and that whole sort of ball of wax that is grouped together into one topic on social media. We're going to give an F to functional training. We're going to explain why and why it's often just overstated, overcomplicated, and not really feasible for most people. A grandma's ability to achieve a bouncing a Bosu ball off of a wall that's 40 pounds doesn't really correlate to a whole lot, but her ability to stand up from a chair without assistance, which is best practiced by things like the squat and deadlift, is very correlated, as along with like how big her legs are as far as muscle goes and things like that. You don't build muscle mass with a medicine ball unless you're like someone that barely survived wasting disease or something like that. So that's kind of where we're going to go with this. So real quick, Amanda, what the heck is functional? Well, it's functional training's all over. I mean, it's everywhere. I feel like we're a little past its peak. We're slightly past peak functional training, but it is still very much a thing. So what is functional training as it is often defined in the social media zeitgeist?
It's really hard to nail this down. Functional training, I think, started out as it's movement training, not muscle training or strength training or whatever other kind of training. It's training for movement patterns that might exist in your regular daily life. So that's, the most basic way to put it. It's become a lot of weird things that involve hopping and skipping and twisting and jumping and bending in weird ways that you probably won't ever bend. So I think it's taken a lot of different faces. CrossFit event actually at one point was marketed as functional. So it can be a lot of, and who's doing wall balls and thrusters in daily life. So it's not necessarily actual movement, but there isn't a lot of emphasis on core stabilization and balance. And so there are some principles that are good, especially as somebody gets older, like balance, being able to catch yourself at different positions in case you're falling. Those are good things to do. And that's part of the functional training, but a lot of it is silly.
I think, and ultimately we're going to go with this is maybe redefining what functional should mean as it pertains to like a training modality, and what actually carries over. I think functional training was mostly something that sort of started in the like team power sports athleticism type of world, and then it sort of came over into the civilian world. I don't know, the not athlete world. Sort of like, CrossFit was a big part of it. I think honestly, a lot of physical therapists, because that's kind of their training modality in many cases for rehab, and it can have a place in rehab. So I'm not saying it's totally ineffective. In fact, in their particular setting, when you're talking about someone like who just had knee surgery, that's actually where some of this could potentially apply the most, probably. But we're talking about a handful of weeks, not a lifetime, as far as the real benefit or reward that it provides. As it kind of came down to like being more popularized and things like that, it's turned into a lot of like balancing on a Bosu ball, throwing medicine balls at the wall or wherever else. Some of this stuff is actually useful for conditioning, but if you want conditioning as we've said before, anything that gets your heart rate up for a while is good conditioning. And nobody here cares what that is. It like the best sort of conditioning is the one that you'll just do because you like it. And it doesn't matter if that's rowing, running, biking, like doing burpees. If you're one of the 1 in 5 million people that actually cares, that likes burpees, but they actually are burpees good conditioning? Yes, of course they are. They're really good conditioning. If you could do burpees for 5 minutes solid, you're like world-class cardiovascular condition. So it's not to say those things never have a place and they have no benefit, but we want to talk about where the bang for buck is on real benefit. And this usually comes down to functional training, like patterns of movement that are most applied, I think, in real life, and flexibility. Those seem to be the two main things that we're kind of looking for. Can you execute things that you have to do in your day-to-day life well, such as getting up from a chair unassisted, picking things up off the floor or off of a shelf, or putting things up onto a high shelf, especially some of you ladies. Can you put up the bag of flour up onto the shelf or whatever it is? Can you unload the dog food, the 50-pound bag of dog food from the car and bring it to the garage, or put it that's functional. That's what we see day to day in most of our lives. Can you do it without any real risk of injury? Can you do it without any real strain or difficulty? That's functional.
And a lot of people have this concern or this tension that, especially that sometimes ask us questions of that weight training is not functional training. And that's the argument we're going to make, is that we're leading into actually training with weights is going to lead you to ultimate bang for your buck function. Because we do get a lot of people, women and men, coming to the Facebook page or Instagram or sending us messages that they'll see one of us squatting and say, this is good for you. And they'll say, maybe a dad has said, but I want to be able to run around with my kids. And so they see this tension there. Or this mom will say, but I still want to be able to be flexible and get down on the floor and things like that. And after they see us, deadlifting or something. So there's this tension that people seem to have between lifting weights and not being functional. And so hopefully we can break that wall down in this episode today. And so everybody can kind of see that oh no, they actually go hand in hand in a way that's even better than what's usually touted as functional training.
Yeah. And I think even some of that stemmed from the old timey, being muscle bound. If you're really muscular, you become muscle bound, so you can't really move. And it's the more muscular you get, the less you can move. Well, if that was some of the biggest, most muscular people in the world are top pro strongmen, and they pick up Atlas stones from the ground, which involves putting your wrists to the ground and then picking up something that weighs 300-400 pounds for reps. That's pretty functional to me, because most people who don't lift at all can't do that. And these guys are often well north of 6 feet tall, often well north of 300 pounds. So it doesn't seem to be a problem for them.
Right.
And by the way, most of them don't do a whole lot of stretching. Very, very little.
Well, and most real functional training looks a lot like strongman. You're not just going to, you're just not doing strongman weights. Like you talked about carrying the bag of dog food. Okay. Do sandbag carries, Farmer carries are often part of functional training. So, which is can you carry all your groceries in one trip carry?
Yeah.
Right.
So a lot of things like that. A lot of strongman type movements done more for a coordination type purpose, I suppose, would be considered functional. I mean, you can't tell me a squat doesn't require mobility. It's ankle mobility, a hip mobility, knee mobility. Can you keep your back upright? So there's a thoracic spine mobility.
Even shoulders too. A lot of people can't get their arms in the right position because of a lack of shoulder mobility.
Yep.
Yeah. And we're using the word mobility here, not stretching or flexibility, because it's like the going through movement is the mobility part. You can be somebody super flexible and you can't squat very well because you haven't built that foundation. And a lot of hypermobile people, hyper flexible people struggle a lot with doing anything strong. They have more injuries because things are bending too far. So there's definitely a balance for that. If you're just trying to aim for most flexible, you're going to lose some other component of that functional label.
Yeah. Yeah, I've worked with actually a handful of hypermobile people, and it's really not to their benefit. They injure very easily, often not in the gym, just in normal life. They twist their ankles more easily. They get just tweaks and strains and things like that. So like pursuing hypermobility, like if you want to be able to do the splits, that's fine. But there's not a huge benefit in having like ultimate ankle mobility outside of certain ranges of motion that we need for functional use, because like you can be potentially promoting injury, potentially. But definitely don't look on people that have hypermobility with any type of like envy or wish that you could be like them, because like legitimately, if you talk to them, they will tell you they wish they were like. They wish they were on the opposite side of that spectrum because they injure a lot. They have to deal with it on a day-to-day basis, and it's not fun.
Yeah, and a lot of people, I think, fear losing their flexibility when they start lifting weights. And like I have found for myself and most people that it's actually the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
Like if you can squat to depth, you're pretty mobile. Most people can't squat to depth that haven't trained. It's very rare, especially once they're over 30.
Yeah.
Like most people that we work with that are brand new to weight training and lifting at all, like they, with just a bare bar, they can't achieve depth on the squat. They don't have usually the hip mobility to do so. It's like way beyond where they're used to going mobility wise. And so they'll actually acquire a lot of mobility just in the first few months of training. That they didn't have before. Like, yes, theoretically, maybe you could get so much muscle that blah, blah, blah causes a problem. Believe me, if that becomes a problem, you'll be very, very happy for how much muscle mass you have, and then it could be addressed. But it's not like I am far more muscular than almost anybody that trains. Not that I'm huge or anything, but I don't struggle with mobility at all. I can bend over and tie my shoes. I can bend over and put, pretty much put my wrists on the floor without bending my knees. I can definitely do like knuckles. Like I still have all of that mobility, more than most men my age by far. And I don't really stretch. I only stretch when I'm in a really heavy strength block, and it's only specific muscles that need it because they just stay tight after training when I get to really heavy loads. But like that's when I'm like squatting over 600 pounds. In my normal periodization, I honestly basically don't stretch. And it's not for the purpose of getting more mobility. I don't need more of that when I'm training. It's just to get muscles to quit being so tight. It's just to get them to like let go and quit being so grumpy. And it's usually only for that purpose. Otherwise, I just wouldn't. It's kind of a waste of my time. If you are spending a lot of time stretching, you'd probably best off spending that time with more training. Because most people, honestly, the big issue, they're just not training. Even if you go to the gym, they're not training hard enough and long enough.
Yeah. I mean, the only argument I would push back on for that no stretching is for sleep purposes, it can be helpful. If you stretch a little bit before bed, it can release some of the tension, especially if you carry a lot of tension from your day, then that can help release some of that so you can sleep better. That's how I use it. But it's not like so I can do something in the gym better or anything like that. It's like tension release. That's mostly it.
And that's very similar along the lines of kind of I would say it agrees with what I was saying, because it's for a very specific purpose. You're not doing it like just generally so you can be more flexible, because you're not flexible enough to do anything you do in normal life. It's specifically because you're addressing something that's specific to you, and it's a specific thing, it's a specific need, and it has a very specific benefit. So I would say it actually totally agrees. Like stretching has a place, but it's for specific reasons. But generalized, just stretching everything out all the time doesn't really seem to be great evidence for it being useful. And actually, I wanted to draw attention to a study that was posted a while ago that's kind of made the rounds on social media. I don't have let's see if I can even read the number here. Can you read that? It's so tiny.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I know. Okay, that's fine. But it's a meta-analysis. The title is The Influence of Resistance Training on Joint Flexibility in Healthy Adults, a systematic review, meta-analysis, and meta-regression. Basically, what the study found was people that train lifting weights through full range of motion become more flexible than baseline. That's it. Just like if you trained and just like if you stretched. But you get the added benefit of adding muscle mass and actual like gaining strength and helping with those types of things.
Yeah.
Like the flexibility carried over well enough into day-to-day life that another study also found that machine-based exercise, we're not talking about function training. This is compared to like functionality training, things like that. Purely machine-based exercise. So I wouldn't even say machine-based, like, I don't want to say bodybuilding, but kind of bodybuilding style training isn't really most optimal for functional training for like carry over to day-to-day life where you actually do pick up things and carry them. They found that actually was very effective in untrained persons for making them just more functional at life. Their ability to do certain day-to-day tasks that they measured became greater just by using machines. No barbells, no free weights, no anything. Their functionality went up. Did it go up as much as functional training? They didn't really compare that. They couldn't exactly. But I think the takeaway is there's still a drastic improvement. And I would say that improvement would be even far more drastic had they actually used free weights, which is usually the baseline for most of the training programs we make. You're going to have a sort of this structural base of some sort of free weight training, and the machines are sort of layered on top of that.
Right.
Machines are going to always be on a fixed path. So there's not necessarily having to balance or keep the bar from moving one way or the other like you would in just like a bench press, for example. Compared to a chest press machine, it's a fixed path. You're not wiggling around trying to keep things in a straight line.
You don't have to support
but it's still, it adheres to the principle of like a loaded stretched position is going to help both with mobility, which you get at the bottom of a chest press. It's going to help both with mobility and with muscle growth and strength. So I can see why it still worked. I mean, if you're doing nothing and then you start doing machines, you're going to be more functional. And not only that, functionality is not just defined by how much balance and flexibility you have. It's also like, do you just have the energy to do things? And if you're training, you're going to have more energy and ability and stamina to do things during the day.
Right. And when you're training, even on machines like this, free weights would be better for a number of different reasons, but it's not just the muscle gain that's happening, but like your joints and your ligaments also get the benefit, and not just of getting more flexible and more resilient, but also there's more fluid that's happening because you're actually like engaging in that movement. And so that's gonna it doesn't just last for while you're training, it lasts like throughout the days after and everything like that. And so you're getting the improved joints and ligaments, even from working with machines, but also that fluid and that just ability to move through greater ranges of motion. And that's going to apply to everything else that you're doing in life.
Yeah, fundamentally, we need to remember the body it's not some machine that just purely degrades over time. It is an adaptable biological reality that if you stimulate the body in certain ways, it will adapt to become more competent at those training modalities or whatever you're doing. So one of the things, even with with flexibility, a lot of flexibility limitation is actually in the nervous system. Men, it's time to reclaim the strength you were made for. Introducing the Crusader Transformation, a 90-day barbell challenge with the limit of 5. We'll keep this small so you can build a brotherhood with 5 like-minded fathers who value strength as much as you do. Together, we'll forge competence, discipline, and resilience. If you sign up now, it's only $800, which is 25% off the regular price. You'll train with purpose, stay accountable, and receive personalized instruction. Join the Crusader Transformation. Train for strength, lead with purpose. Sign up at crusader.fitness. It's not that the joints and tissues are actually incapable of moving through that full range of motion. It's actually your nervous system basically saying like, stop, this is dangerous. I'm not used to this. And if you want to see like case in point, go watch a video of someone getting like a hip replacement or a knee replacement. It's it's not the funnest thing to watch, but what you will notice is doctors are cranking on joints, and they don't break anything. They don't bust tendons and ligaments. They don't do all these things, and they're getting cranked on. Like if you were awake during this, like it would be horrifically painful. But that is just the nervous system trying to protect you from harm. But if everything's relaxed, you can still travel through those ranges of motion just fine. And of course, the muscle growth, like more muscle mass makes you more functional. You don't get more functional at standing up by stretching. You get more functional at standing up by doing things that are kind of like standing up, like a squat or a deadlift or something along those lines. But interestingly, machines did have a good carryover. And like Amanda, like you mentioned with like the chest press, a good chest press machine, like you have to get your arms way back there. You have to have a really good stretch of the pectorals and shoulder. Like the shoulders have to go way back. That is that's a significant stretch to someone that's untrained. And how often do you need to get in that stretched position in real life? Like,
Pressing,
has anybody here?
like forward pressing? No, that doesn't happen. Shoulder pressing is much more common in the real world.
Yeah, but even like what we would define as like a strict barbell press, like from below the chin to a lockout, that's actually excessive beyond what you would really ever do in real life. Like none of us is bringing an object from below the chin to a full lockout and holding it. Like you just need to put something up on the shelf or get it off the shelf.
Right.
And it just happens to carry over really well. Why? Because in real life, you're moving through a smaller range of motions. So you're going to be extra competent at it. And you're going to have certain leverage advantages because you're not necessarily doing it strict or, whatever the case might be. You're not going to go through that full range of motion in real life. It's not really ever needed.
Right.
Yeah. I think if you need to, if you want to list all the ways that are functional movement in real life, because we talk about getting up from a chair, putting something on a shelf, just think of all the ways that you move when you're moving. Like you're packing boxes, you're loading furniture, and you're carrying awkward objects out to the truck and putting them on and stepping up. Almost every movement that you do when you're moving from one place to another, like moving a home, is part of functional movement. You will hit every pattern that way, even walking backward while you're carrying something. All of those can be what would be considered functional. Like if you can move your own stuff without any help, obviously you need help for bigger objects, but you know what I mean? Then you've hit all the functional movements. And there's probably not any pressing forward much in that. Like you said with the chest press, but there's deadlifts. There is lifting with your back. It's not, no one's getting all the way to the ground in a squat to pick up a box because they don't have the mobility to squat that low. So you're going to have to be able to know how to lift with your back, which is why we still encourage deadlifts or variations of them in programming. That is functional. So if you're just going to Pilates and stretching or doing yoga for your only part of your fitness program, you're not doing anything that's going to help you move and carry.
Right. And I think that's what makes a good coach is that they are supposed to be training you functionally for who you are and what you have to do in everyday life. And we'll probably talk about this a little bit later, like when we get into the longevity part of it. But it's like, that's why we train a 60-year-old woman different from a 30-year-old woman with 3 kids, or a guy that works nights different from a 50-year-old, grandpa or whatever who likes to hike. It's like, it's a coach's job to know you and know what your life looks like and the movement patterns that are most going to benefit you for what you're doing day in and day out, and to train you in a way that's also not going to inhibit you from being able to do that work. Like that's why with our pregnant moms, we're really emphasizing like back, posterior chain, core, because those are the things that just wreck you when you're pregnant. Like you're carrying all this weight out front. You've got to have a strong back and a strong posterior, but you're also trying to prepare those abdominals for labor and to recover differently. But like when you already have babies and you're done with that, like you probably need some strong arms and some strong shoulders to carry those car seats and to lift people like kids up into big transit vans and carry groceries and stuff like that. And same thing for guys. Like it's your coach's job to know what season of life you're in and how those movements can most benefit just your day in and day out.
Yeah, I mean, I think we already are there with the longevity thing. So like one of the biggest predictors of how long you're going to live is how much muscle mass you carry. Like that's it, especially in your legs, in your lower body specifically. How much back pain you have generally corresponds with how strong the muscles in your back are. How do you get stronger muscles? You generally make them bigger. And they don't get bigger through stretching. They don't get bigger with a Bosu ball or with a medicine ball. They get bigger from like actually training your back. And so to like sort of circle back around to like what's most ideal for like real functional training, it probably looks something like, excuse me, like training kind of like a bodybuilder and kind of like a power lifter with barbells and then whatever free weights and dumbbells are layered in there. And then having some strongman training that involves movement, particularly like anytime you're carrying something, not necessarily all the strongman movements and things like that, but anything that involves you moving around with weight in your hands. That's probably the best carryover to real life. You don't need to do a ton of it, but at least having that ability to be competent. And the thing is, we know this instinctively because people love to like sort of make fun of like, oh, the muscle bound blah 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 guy with no, range of motion, all this stuff. Like I remember some guy in a bodybuilding group, he was posting about how much with front squats you need to be able in the rack position to like hold it in your fingertips, like with a classic Olympic like clean position. Well, that's great if you have that mobility, but a lot of people after a certain age basically can't get that back. And by the way, if your forearm to upper arm ratio is not correct, you can't do it. Like it's not possible. And I don't care for someone.
Wrist pain I ever got in my life was from doing that. So
and the other thing,
I don't even front squat that method anymore if I ever have that in my program.
And he went on some long thing about this, whatever. And I was like, look, the biggest front squats are pretty much by strongmen typically because it carries over in strongmen. So strongmen love to like front squat heavy weights, and none of them use that position pretty much zero because they pretty much can't.
Yeah.
And they don't need to. And he so I'm like, oh yeah, but they have I think he said something along the lines of the mobility of a 2x4 or something. And I was like, well, that's not true either. Because like they're picking up 400-pound sandbags from the ground.
Can you do that?
I'm sure this guy couldn't even do that with 200 pounds. So it's not that simple. And he had this whole thing about like, oh, it's better support for the mid back and all this stuff. And it kind of is because it helps like thoracic spine extension a little bit. But like then get a stronger thoracic spine. That's part of what the movement's training anyway. Good for you. Like cool. Like that's not a problem. But like the crossed over arms method or using straps or something like that, totally valid for front squats because we don't care about the rack position. It doesn't have a carryover in real life. It's really easy just to sprain your wrist doing it. And a lot of people just don't have the right like actual anthropometry in their arms to actually execute a rack position properly. Like I pretty much can't because I have long forearms.
Yeah, I mean, you just ruin the whole movement. Like you take it completely off of what the purpose of a front squat is, and you're just killing your wrists and forearms, and that's what makes you put the bar. Like that's your limiting factor at that point.
It is. Yeah, it's a great way to give yourself like carpal tunnel or something too, or wrist strain. In fact, I personally know of a couple strength and conditioning coaches that had multiple surgeries on their wrists because of using the rack position when they were doing power cleans.
Ooh.
Yeah, like, and front squatting that way. Because they were told that's the dogma, you have to be able to do it this way, or it's not a real front squat, or it's not a real power clean. Well, guess what? Would they have been any stronger or weaker if they would have just done something else? Yeah, they still would have been, but they wouldn't have had to have surgery. So it's not that, all I'm saying is it's just not that simple. And so what we're really trying to train is like, you want to talk about what's functional? Having a huge front squat. If you can front squat 400 pounds, you're freaking strong. You must have big quads. You must have a strong back. That's functional. Holding it in that front rack position like Olympians do, Is that functional for anything? No. Go find me a movement in real life that's similar to that. We're not going for someone that having that ability to execute. And by the way, like the best Olympians anyway, they all have short forearms. They have short forearms and short arms anyway. They're built for it, basically custom built for the movement. Don't compare yourself to those people. Like the Olympic lifts are one of the prime like genetic selection. It's the most selective for genetics strength sport there probably is, because we've got great examples in like powerlifting and strongman of people that are extremely strong. That's like, well, that body type probably shouldn't be able to do that, but they're still one of the top guys. Well, you could look at like John Hack, right? He's got horrifically long femurs, like horribly long femurs. Still got one of the biggest squats and deadlifts out there. Like, so obviously it works for him, but would that work in the Olympic world? No. He would go nowhere.
Yeah.
So, but like, we don't want to put genetic selection as a boundary to being functional. It doesn't make any sense.
I mean, the longevity conversation is just putting a little more muscle on. You're going to be able to eat differently because you're not always, watching your carbs if you have some more muscle, which I know you guys talked about last week, but also, just wanted to give some examples of movements that we could consider, because we can say like, oh, maybe don't try to do pistol squats on a Bosu ball, but which is true. You don't really need to be doing that. But
it's been done.
Things that would be helpful for longevity that you're going to need as you get older are some unilateral movement, like a lunge. Doesn't have to be a Bulgarian split squat or something like that, but doing something on one foot, not like a pistol squat, but stepping and having to lift like a lunge with one foot is good. Squatting, deadlifting, even just an RDL. You're not always going to be picking something up all the way off the ground. Even some push pressing is not a bad idea. You're not generally going to strict press something up. You're probably going to use your legs a little bit. So knowing how to do that and stay balanced is good. And then when you're, especially for women nearing menopause or into menopause, even just small like jumps from off of something and down, because your bone density from jump training, from just training in general, will be better. But some jump training can be helpful. That's good for balance, making sure if you accidentally step off of curb, you're not rolling your ankle. But you don't have to do all these complicated. It's easy to get lost in the weeds when you see the functional exercises, because it's just somebody, what if I spin and lose my balance, and I should be able to do that with weight. No, you don't need to be able to do that.
When do you need to do that? Show me.
And there's a lot of rotational core exercises with functional training that I don't think are that necessary. You're actually most of the time trying to keep a stable core. So anti-rotational is almost more functional than any kind of rotational training if you're talking about longevity.
One of the things you talk about bone density too. The big thing is sort of like the peak of bone compression is really like what the stimulus is. And even on a squat, I don't remember the exact numbers, but I want to say that when you squat, just a body weight squat, like adding your body weight to your back. So however much you weigh, add that. That's how heavy you're actually squatting. Was something like 14 times body weight at the bottom when you reverse. 14 times body weight is the load just for a brief moment. Whereas if you stumble, it was like 70 times. And obviously we're not going to tell people to stumble as part of their training, but it's really good preparation to be doing something like squatting. And I totally agree with the unilateral work. Whatever that is, lunges, Bulgarian split squats stink, but they're really effective. But you want that ability to be able to catch yourself. It helps you go up and down stairs. It gives you really good control. It's also really good for knee stability. It's a great thing for like knee rehab and just knee strength and prevention of injury in general. And what I meant to say a few minutes ago before I went on my previous rant was one way that we know functional training, like that strength training is functional training easily, is who do you want to have help you move? Who does everybody ask to help move when it's like moving day and they're the person gets assigned all the heavy stuff? It's the most muscular guy there. Like when I help someone move, it's like I'm the one moving the safe and the refrigerator and everything else. Why? Because they know that that's how this works. And nobody's like, oh, you like, it's like I've had trouble bending over to pick any of these things up.
Yeah.
Like because people know like, oh, this guy's muscular. He can do the thing. That's how this actually works. They're not going to look for like the person that does lots of yoga to move the refrigerator. There's going to be a stereotype that's generally very well played out about them actually probably being fairly weak because all they do is yoga.
Yeah. And as we move into like aging, even like you want to keep as much functionality as possible when you're young and middle-aged and raising kids, but moving into even like grandparent years and getting older, like strength is king in those years. Like the amount of muscle mass you have, particularly in your legs, is a huge predictor of how long you're going to live and also just your quality of life. Like, and it is never too late to start training. I had a 40-year-old lady a few weeks ago ask me, it's like, if that was too late. And I was like, oh my goodness, no.
It's not even close.
It's not even close. Like we've literally seen 60, 70, 80-year-olds start training just with like doing squats at the counter, and trying to get their legs a little bit stronger, working into body weight things, working into weights, and get huge strides in their quality of life back. I didn't know her, but I heard of one older lady one time, all she wanted to be able to do was hang the clothes on her clothesline again. She was like 80 years old, but she like had lost the ability to do that. She really enjoyed it. And so she started lifting some weights, and within several months she was able to do that again. And she did it for years and years. Like there are so many little things like that add up over time that people just think that, oh, it's gone, I can't do that anymore. When the reality is sometimes, actually a lot of the time, all you need to do is get stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really don't have to feel defeated because it's, maybe it's longer than you should have waited to get started, but rather than beating yourself up, just do it. And the fun thing about that is and this is no matter what age, especially if you've not been training at all, you still get newbie gains. It might be a little less
It's true.
if you're older, but like you get to the people who have been lifting for a long time are jealous of that. Like we want the newbie gains back. So you still get to have some of that. And we've talked, I think, about training age before in prior episodes or just in conversation where like your actual age and your training age might be something different. People who've been training a long time might actually need to pull back or slow down a little bit as they get older. Not ever stopping, but pulling back a little bit. If you haven't been training at all, like you actually can get to where you're going pretty hard after a while and some practice and consistency. So there's some benefits and it's like some fun things to just starting there. Whereas you'll just continue to decline if you feel defeated and don't do it at all.
Yeah, the longevity conversation is, I think, one that you in particular have had to have with guys over the years, especially guys that like to go heavy often.
Yeah. A lot of guys have this tendency, and I think it's especially older guys. It's young guys too. It's just older guys can't get away with it for very long.
Right.
You can train for strength and do like sets of 5 and sets of 3 for a while, but you can't do it for that long, especially once you get very strong at all. It's going to beat you up. Like there's a reason why all of us that train for very long, like we don't train for strength year round. If we did, we'd just break down. Like your body can't handle it. So part of that longevity is also training in a way that's sustainable. Like, yes, I push it really hard for short durations once in a while, but even how my strength training for peaking looks right now is totally different than it was like 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I could max out pretty much every week. Not for like a heavy single, but like for doubles and triples and things like that. The last time I peaked for a powerlifting meet, I was going for, going to near failure on like a double or triple every other week on squat or deadlift alternating. And sometimes I'd still need to take a week off where I would just train really light because I just couldn't recover from it. And that's a training age thing and my physical age thing. I mean, if I was 25, maybe I could still get away with it at this strength. But like, that's the reality. I can't recover from it, and I'm courting like disaster by pushing it harder. And those things it just looks differently the older you get.
Yep. And it does look differently, even like male to female and certain things like that.
You can
like,
push women harder.
You can, you can push women harder.
Women just don't have the ego to do it typically, but like a woman can actually max out way more than a man.
Well, and even because of how heavy like men can get versus, or when men can actually start lifting versus women, like most women will never deadlift 400 pounds. That's just the reality, where your average man, even an older man, should be able to like get to that eventually. So especially when you run certain programs, if you get them online or whatever, like I don't have any problem with anyone going to grab a program online. Like, please go find one. Like, but if you start playing with different programs, especially based on like RPE or even percentages of a max, like male to female, how strong you are is going to start playing a really big role on how much progress you can make from those programs and how much it's going to beat you up and how long you can run it and how, if you're even able to recover from it, like even despite getting all the sleep, eating all the food, it might just beat you up too much depending on where you're at in life and your gender and different things that you've got going on. And so that you just have to start paying closer attention to those things. The stronger you get and the older you get.
Yeah. Yeah, you really do. Well, I think we've kind of talked around it pretty well. So just to summarize, functional training is getting stronger. Your ability to, like, if you're an older person, the older you get, your ability to be functional in life is mostly limited by strength. People, the 85-year-old woman who has struggles getting in and out of a chair or bending it over and picking up something off the ground, their issue is not that their joints can move for a full range of motion. Their issue is that they can't do so and be strong enough to support themselves when they do those movements. That's pretty much what it always comes down to. They break their hips because they have low bone mineral density, because they lack stimulus. It's not because they're not getting enough calcium.
Yeah.
That is extremely rare, especially in America. You're getting enough calcium from a healthy diet. You don't need to worry about that. You don't need to supplement that as a woman. I've actually seen it cause more trouble than good anyway, especially like causing cramping and other issues like that. The issue is the lack of stimulus, and that can kind of stink because it doesn't come in a pill, but your quality of life will be a lot better for it. And a lot of people will be surprised at how quickly things can turn around. So, of course, if you want help with this, we'd be happy to help. But you don't have to get to some stage in life where you lose your independence because you can't get up and down, because you can't control your legs anymore. These things are typically very preventable. The only time it's actually too late is when you're laying on your deathbed. Anytime before that is fair game. We have seen women who started training in their 70s deadlift 300 pounds. It happens. And these are not people that are genetically gifted or extraordinary, other than the fact that they just did it and it's unusual for their age. That's what makes them extraordinary. These are not phenomenal people who have like some huge advantage or anything like that. They're just people that worked hard and decided to make a change in their lives. So the time to start is now. Who cares about how old you are? Yeah, it would have been better if you started younger. Of course, that's true of all of us. We all wish we were smarter when we were younger and that we worked harder and all the things. But guess what? We're here today. You can't go back in time. Can't rewind the clock. Just start today. Jump in. Do so smartly, but start. That's the ultimate takeaway. And start with training. Get stronger. Get in the gym. Get some weights. Get whatever you can. Begin. Be consistent. That's all you really need. Yes, we'd be happy to help you with programming. Yes, we'd be happy to help you if you need to rehab something. That's what we're here for. But the point from all of this is just start. And if you're looking for help, you can find us at highcallingfitness.com or just do it on your own. But start, please. If you haven't started, just start. So until then, gains and grace.
Gains and grace.